Okay, the following dream I had when um, I wasn't even married yet, I didn't have children yet, was 2002, which is long, like 21 years ago. Okay, so I had this dream. To explain it, I'll probably have to use some church lingo that some of you won't understand, but I'll try to explain what that means. But I'm not going to give the interpretation of the dream, although I think the interpretation of the dream is very easy to see. But I hope only those with understanding will understand the meaning, and those that are blind will remain blind. So I was in a church back then called These People, and we often had type of celebrations, worship celebrations that we called Sound the Trumpet. So in Sound the Trumpet, we basically come together, the whole church comes together. In this case, it was in an outside auditorium at the university where we held church. So the outside auditorium was a large auditorium, built from the ground up high into the sky. It was built with mainly cement and had extremely large stairs going up and down. I don't even know how many people it can house, probably 10, 20,000. Anyway, we were sitting in the church and I was at the top mainly. And I was in the middle of the Sound the Trumpet service. Um, a person was preaching on the stage at the bottom that had at that stage had stopped his ministry. So his name is Rian. He had been in ministry, but he had at that stage stopped the ministry when I was in the church. But in my dream, he was again in front of the church preaching. He was a very popular minister. And he was preaching and between the songs, because Sound the Trumpet is mostly a praise and worship thing. And I was going down the church steps, leaving the church, and I get at the bottom steps, and the bottom three um, rows of chairs are filled with Muslims in um, in traditional Muslim clothing, and they were all praying um, against the church. So they were beneath their breath, praying against the church, but they were sitting in the church, in the service while they were doing this, and everyone saw them. And but they were praying like spiritual warfare against what was happening in the service. And I see them, I notice them, and I have to walk past them out of the pavilion, and I leave it, and suddenly I'm in this spiritual world. And from one side in the spiritual world, a Muslim army comes, and from the north, the Catholic army comes. And the Muslim army is completely disorganized. Completely. I mean, there is no order. It's just they attack in unison, but there's no order whatsoever. Whereas the Catholic army is extremely organized, and they march in a very organized manner. And in the dream, I just feel they're very effective. And I'm in the middle, and they stop. The Muslim group stops. I'm in the middle, and then the Catholic group stops, and they start fighting each other. And I'm in the middle of this spiritual battle. and it's like a spiritual storm around me. It's like, and I'm worried. This is like a dangerous situation, and this is like this spiritual wind, and it's so strong. It's like it's going to pick me up and throw me somewhere and kill me. And I know in my spirit I have to start praying in tongues. So I start praying in tongues, and suddenly there's a woman next to me. So she's young like me. In the dream, I used to be young once, and she has short dark brown hair, and she and I take hands. We hold hands, and she's praying in tongues and I'm praying in tongues, and we just continue praying in tongues all the time. But this incredibly dangerous spiritual storm is going on around us, and the winds of the spiritual storm is so powerful that you feel like if you lose faith, you're going to be pulled apart by the storm. And I'm praying in tongues. I'm just praying all the time, with and really holding on to God, and um, while we were praying, the storm suddenly, while she was also praying in tongues, the storm suddenly picks her up, and I'm like holding on to her like this, and she is pulled towards the Catholic side, by the wind, and I'm holding on, and I'm just praying in tongues all the time and trying to hold on to her. But finally, the storm was just too strong, and it took her, and I was left alone, and I just continued praying in tongues, and this that's the end of the dream. I don't know when it ended or if it ended. That is all I know. Okay. So let's call this dream the spiritual storm.